In recent weeks, state governments continue with the distribution of palliatives to cushion the impact of the fuel subsidy removal, and Imo State hasn't been left out. Senator Ifeanyi Ubah has also joined the growing number of federal lawmakers using their position to benefit of their people. And we have details in this report.
Amid calls for palliatives and social intervention, some state government and federal lawmakers have risen to the challenge. One of them is Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. Some describe these as massive empowerment project, which, according to the senator, it is a demonstration of life-changing employment program. Delivering his speech, Governor of Imo State explains that these benefits will follow the strong economic policy introduced by the federal government. He appeals that Nigerians should extend support to vulnerable groups around them.
Mr. President also has encouraged the governors, members of the National Assembly, to see their brother's problem as their problem, to see the problems of members of their constituencies as their problem. He has also encouraged them to go back to their various constituencies to see how they can cushion the effect of this policy.
The national chairman of APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, commended the senator for his people's-oriented empowerment programs.
An ordinary rally is the one that you come and hear. It's the one that you come and see a large crowd of people. But this rally is a mega rally. Yes. And it's a rally of empowerment.
For the federal lawmaker who promised to ensure his desire to leave many out of poverty is achieved.
In
fact, what drove him into politics was even this desire to have the platform to touch as many people as possible, you understand, and to put smiles on the faces of people, by helping our people.
Members of the APC National Working Committee challenged public office holders to take a cue from Senator Ifeanyi Ubah's empowerment gesture.
Every time everybody's shouting about Bola Tinubu, Bola Tinubu, Bola Tinubu, the president is not going to be the only one that can solve this problem. The governors across the 36 states, the 109 senators, like Ifeanyi Ubah is doing, must rise to the occasion and continually do more at this season to be able to alleviate the impact of what is going on right now, the policies that have been introduced to ensure that Nigeria is on the path of economic strength.
And so I call on each and every leader, not just the senators, House of Representatives, councillors, local government chairmen, governors, and every leader in the society to emulate what Senator Ifeanyi Ubah has done.
Over 30,000 Anambra people are expected to benefit from the empowerment program. Many are to go on with motorized bicycle, tricycle, shuttle buses, sewing machines, hairdressing machines, food items, and many more. Bamidele Ajayi, TVC News Newi.
Well, that story happened in Anambra, not Imo, as earlier reported. Well, BK, let's have your perspective on this distribution of palliative, as we've seen from state governors, now lawmakers. What do you make of this development?
This is what we've always wanted. And I remember after we began to complain that the big-time politicians were not showing empathy, we saw Senator Bengadane do something in his constituency of Ogun State, the Jebu area where he comes from. Everyone that is in position to do this needs to jump in to assist our people.
Right.
And the people will appreciate it. Our people need support. That is what we are saying. We are not saying this should be the
norm,
permanent economic module. No one is saying that. Because I had an individual say you cannot revamp an economy with palliatives, who said they should revamp economy with palliatives. We are saying that at a time like this, help our people. Lend a hand. All the religions acknowledge that we cannot all be rich.
Yeah.
Fingers are not equal. God recognizes the fact that
there are poor people
there
among
will be
us.
poor people amongst us, whether we like it or not.
Right.
So, but we need to help those people. That is the point we are making. Look at what Senator Ifeanyi Ubah has done. This is massive. This is a game-changing initiative. And everyone will point at what Senator Ifeanyi Ubah has done as the standard. Because it's not the only one in that Senate. There are 109 of them. If others can do something like this, it will go a long way. Who has done something like this big, attracting this kind of crowd, attracting this kind of big personalities within the party? So he has set a standard. And this is a man who is not known to have lost an election. He's a perennial politician to watch. There's no way that the people will abandon you when you need them, if you are known as someone who always shows up to help people. That's what Senator Ifeanyi Ubah has advertised himself to be. I like the fact that the day before this grand empowerment, he organized a colloquium meant to bring the Southeast to the epicenter of Nigerian politics. You know? And the whole idea is for the Southeast to take its rightful place in the epicenter of politics in our country. That's what Senator Ifeanyi Ubah is pushing hard for. And you can see the extent that he has gone. And I know that God who rewards people who remember the poor in our midst will also remember him. I'm charging others. You've seen what your colleague has done. Try your best. If you cannot best him, try to at least move close to what he has done. We will appreciate it all the same.
Indeed. GKB, you know, from what Babajide has said, this is what we've been canvassing on the show and as much as what we've been seeing so far from other state governors. But I'm particularly concerned about this not being used as a political tool, perhaps maybe if at all getting to the right persons. How do you think that can be shadowed? How do you think this kind of palliative can get to the right people who need it and not being used as a political tool by most of these politicians?
Well, that's why I'm very happy that senators are now taking the bulls by the horn, basically. Because we've shouted there many times that some governors are not doing well. We know what they are doing in Borno, we know what they are doing in some states, we know what they are doing in Lagos with the Onjeko, so which I was even part of yesterday, because I have to go to one in my area just to confirm whether they were there. And some of the representatives came in. So now the Senate and members of the House of Representatives, like this guy in Adodwata, Tunji Akinsi, who also did similar thing for people in that area. And then, because we have to admit that some governors have been missing in action. So nature abhors a vacuum. And they've been very lucky in Ogun State that they have senators like Yayi, who are willing to block that particular element to go. Because it's only palliative that they wanted in some areas. Some areas, the roads need palliative.
Right.
The roads are so bad that to even come out of your villages to get this,
it's very
or to get it back, it's going to be extremely difficult. Because once you leave my neighborhood in Ahmadiyya, it's going to be war to get water. You spend something that should take 15 minutes, will take about 2 hours. And people die on that road every day because people now convert the other road to face-to-face. Just yesterday, somebody died. And it's basically like that all the way to Ota, down on the way to Abeokuta. So I want to commend Senator Ubah. I want to commend other senators as well. It is not only because they need to, it's because they have to. And to go back to your question, there's no better politics than talking to a man on full stomach. Yorubas have a saying that in a being pa wasu.
Right.
There is no way an hungry man will listen to your sermon. But if you're a politician and you really want people to remember what you are doing for them, this is what you need to do. And do it now. Like we said, it's not going to be forever.
Right.
But while we are hurting from the fallout or the decisions taken by this administration to solve our economic problems down the line, palliatives like this are necessary to make sure that the base elements in our society do not suffer unduly due to lack of finance to buy this stuff.
Right. Well, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the rescue of the abducted Kuriga school children is still eliciting reactions nationwide. Now, the Northern Elders Forum is celebrating the safe return of the abducted school children. In a statement signed by its spokesperson, Abdulaziz Sulaiman, the forum noted that the news brought a ray of hope amidst a dark period for the community. Members of the forum, however, tasked President Bola Tinubu on effective security in northern Nigeria. BK, with this initiative, or rather with this situation where we saw, children that were abducted and now being rescued, everyone is happy, but then it begs the question, Safe School Initiative. We understand this was also introduced that in 2014 by President Goodluck Jonathan to address situations like this. I actually want to understand why we're having to deal with such situations in this present time, even when we had it way back then, and a program was instituted for such concerns like this.
No, it's even a lot worse. We talk about the safe school. I don't see so much that is being done. And let's not belabor ourselves about the so-called Safe School Initiative. There are so many schools in our country. We cannot effectively police all those schools. There are schools located not far away from bandits and hideouts. Bandits are going into even urban centers, like in Gusau, for example, the state capital. They are going there to pluck students from their dormitories, from their hostels. It's happening in Gusau. Gusau is the state capital. So what are we talking about? Banditry is a big business in northern Nigeria. And these guys would do anything possible to keep that business going. The challenge that we have is to put them out of business. And I don't think that the Safe School Initiative is what will push them out of business. What we need to do is first and foremost, keep the children safe. Don't open schools in places that are not considered safe.
Right.
I've talked about this a number of times. Borno State made a mistake in 2014 when the students of that school in Chibok were writing their school certificate exams. There was no reason to let them sit for the exam in that school because the
Wasn't
school
safe enough.
was considered unsafe.
Right.
And an alarm was raised, which was ignored at that time. You can assume that, I have like 40 soldiers here. This place is effectively defended. But do you know how many fighters are coming to engage your 40 soldiers? That was the scenario in Chibok. But they were outnumbered. The enemy surprised the soldiers on ground. When the enemy surprises you like that, triples the number of people that you have on ground, anytime Boko Haram wants to take over an army base, they come with maximum force. They come with sufficient number of fighters, sometimes 3 times the number of soldiers on ground, carrying the same weapons that the soldiers are carrying. They would take that army base, whether you like it or not. They will take it, except you get tremendous air support. And it's not every time that you can get air support. during the Harmattan, for example, with the Sahelian haze, sometimes
It'd be difficult
they
to
can't fly.
Yeah.
They can't even fly. So if they too target those periods to launch attack, they know that they will not get air support because they won't be able to fly. Visibility is key. And the Sahelian haze is a big factor. So let's first and foremost shut schools in areas that are not safe. I've talked about this place where this thing happened on this program a number of times. The closest army base to it is about 35 kilometers away. There is no network. So even if you raise the alarm, to who? You can't make a call. How do you raise the alarm? And the children are just there in the bush. So first and foremost, we shut the schools that are vulnerable, relocate the pupils elsewhere. Government must do this, especially the governments of these northwest states. We have a lot of improvement in the northeast. These days I hardly talk about northeast. The northwest states shut the schools located in places that are not deemed safe. These boys even come into communities, overwhelm police, overwhelm people on ground in semi-urban communities, and they take students away. The students of the forestry school in Kaduna that they went, it's not far from the state capital. It's just outside the state capital. In fact, when we were doing youth service in Kaduna back then, our NYC farm was located in the area. We used to go to all those areas. And then they kidnapped those students. Bandits target students because they know that they will attract attention.
Sympathy.
It will be front page news. Tabloids will do 120 points, banner headlines, when they hear that students have been kidnapped. Now that we know that students are their target, we've got to keep those students safe. Shut schools where you cannot guarantee that those boys can't overrun. Then relocate them. That's what Borno has been doing. Since 2014, no one has overrun a school in Borno State since the Chibok incident. They picked up valuable lessons from it. The federal government girls' college in Monguno, they located it to the state capital. So this is the thing. All of the talk, and then Northern, I read part of what the statement.
Yeah.
I said, enough is enough. This government is not protecting our people. Of course, the government ought to protect our people better. I admit. But what are the Northern leaders doing? Professor Usman Yusuf, that used to be in the National Health Insurance scheme, said the other day that President Tinubu cannot protect Northerners. It's Northerners that will rise up and say, we want to protect our people. Shifting the blame, looking for who to blame in this case, will not achieve the aim because there is a collective guilt. How did they move children from Brenengwari Forest in Kaduna all the way to Zamfara?
About 200 people.
How did they do it? Yes, you could say there's the Zamfara and Kaduna, they share border. But it goes beyond that. There are two wards in Safe, for example. Safe, the west of Safe local government, that shares border with Brenengwari. But people must have seen them when they were moving those children, because they moved them on bikes. You can't claim that you didn't see them. How come that by our own conduct we indulge the criminals? How come we don't raise an alarm? Is this the way we want to go on with these good-for-nothing bandits? Only to come and blame government? Is there no role that clerics can play? Clerics are very, very strong. They are very influential.
Right.
In northern Nigeria. Is there no role that they can play? What are the emirs doing? What are the district heads doing? Can't the northern leaders come together and say, look, enough. I am from the north. I was born in Zaria. And I speak the language. But I'm embarrassed by the level of insecurity in the north that we used to enjoy visiting. There are places when in those days when we even enjoy traveling in the night. The places where they kidnap people these days were places that we used to go and relax. Today you can hardly move around. It should bother northern leaders sufficiently to the point that they'll say enough. That enough that they are saying, that press statement, that enough shouldn't go to the president. It should go to
the leaders themselves.
The leaders. I remember the emir of Ankara saying something similar to what Professor Yusuf said. I hardly agree with Professor Yusuf. But on this one, I agree with him. That the solution to this problem rests in the north. The north should look at itself in the mirror and say, how come the people of the southwest, they don't face this problem? How come it is we in the north that we are facing it? Whether it is Kogi or northwest, it's a matter of crying shame that we have this level of insecurity. It should bother them. They shouldn't just say because somebody is president, therefore he should take all the blame. What are you doing? Look at Kaduna with all of those security military formations. They even went to the extent of kidnapping soldiers inside NDA. Come on. Things unheard of. So they should listen to Professor Usman Yusuf. That thing that he said should be a wake-up call.
Right.
The release of these children, as the Northern Elders Forum statement writer said, is the wake-up call. It is Professor Yusuf's statement that is a wake-up call. How come he didn't see that? How come he didn't see that?
GKB, as much as most of us will agree with what Babajide has said, what are your take-home from what has transpired in the north, and what do you think the northerners should do differently? Now it seems like the northerners are the ones facing this challenge, and they should be the ones to address this situation than to toss the blame on the presidency.
First, let me take it at the national level. Let me first commend the president. The statement he made about not paying kidnappers is, to me, pivotal in the war against kidnapping. Because once you remove the economic incentive, the thing will start to fall apart. And by doing this, you know automatically this is a president who is not willing to take prisoners. Number two, I'd like to thank the NSA and the people at the top. Incidentally, all of them are northerners, apart from the chief of army staff. The NSA is a northerner, the defense minister is a northerner. So,
two of them.
So it's basically a northern thing. Mm-hmm. So I want to also commend them for making sure that the army were not restricted, as back in the day, when they would get to the door and somebody would tell them to hold action. My investigation into what happened has shown that they were given a free hand to do what they deemed necessary. And they did it and got results under 2-3 weeks. Normally, under an old administration, we will still be issuing statements right now about what we will do. And that may take another 6-7 months. But this president has shown that he's not really interested in talking. That's why what he said was very pivotal. It was very clear. We are not paying bandits.
The law even forbids anyone to pay bandits.
So that to me was, and even the governor of Kaduna was very emphatic about what really happened. That's it what happened, and they were very clear that money will not exchange hands. So to me, this is the beginning of reversing, because, like Jide said, it's an economic activity. And once the incentive is not removed, no matter what you say, they will continue to operate. Number two, they are now trying to expose those behind terrorism financing. I wish they could go further than just naming them. Let's have a court session on TV and bring out more people that are doing this. 3, they are mopping up loose change. And normally, because it's very funny that a country like Nigeria, you can move around 800 million naira and you cannot trace it. That means you don't have any bank. All we have are just money collectors. Because the banking system all over the world, you cannot take 800 million
and not know the source
to show it. Even those of us who have $50 in our foreign accounts, they will keep telling you the trail of the money and where it's coming from, why it's not going. So those three aspects to me are key. And I hope they can sustain it. Of course, there will be political fallout, like Gide said. There will be consequences. Because sooner or later, once the free money runs out, they will now face their leaders who have been complicit, who have been culpable. Because a lot of them look away because it serves their interest. And these things happen. But sooner or later, the chicken will come home to roost.
Absolutely.
And this is what they do. When I read the statements, I just waved it off. Because we know what happened in the last 8 years. And we know where the elders stood until about 6 months to the end of that administration. We know where they stood. They were blind, deaf, and dumb. Now they are very active. Good for them. I have nothing against that. But let them also go home. Because I know how we secured the Southwest. I know.
Yes. You remember when these cultists, these ritualists were killing people in Ikorodu? Yeah. On this program, I challenged Are Gani Adams. I said, you can't be here and this is happening. You can't be here. Gani Adams joined the police on a night raid. If you remember, on a night raid, he joined them. They fished out this boy. Because whether we like it or not, OPC knows the bad boys. They know where they are. They may choose not to kill them, but they know where they are. And when they wanted to kill in Akala, we saw what happened. It was a clean out. No one is recommending that
Such
kind
action.
of approach. But we are saying we can fish them out. So if Gani Adams joined the police at that time with his boys to raid Ikorodu, and they found those boys, and since that day, anybody who is resident in Lagos, who knows what goes on in Lagos, will recall that that thing came to an end. That week was the last day that you will hear that they smashed somebody's head, with omolo, that they used to grind pepper. You can find a solution.
Absolutely.
We have something called the Southwest Security Stakeholders. Hunters, vigilantes, and all that coordinated at that level that Gide is aware. And that's why the Southwest has been very secure, because everybody is cooperating with these guys. Remember about 2 years ago in Ogun State, when these church members and then the police came out to say this and that. But we knew what really happened. We know that it was the vigilantes and the hunters that know where they were. Right. That's why I always commend last week when the CP Ogun State, Biodun Alamutu, took that action against people in the bush and destroyed their camp somewhere around the Ayetoro area. Because Southwest is peculiar. People may not agree with each other, but they agree on one thing. There must be security of lives and property.
And that's why it's the most secure geopolitical zone in our country. No doubt about it.
Let's quickly go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. We'll have more discussions in just a moment. Just stay with us.
Ramadan, the ninth month in the Islamic calendar, is here again. This is a wonderful time to learn more about Islam and give to the cause of Allah. It's also a time when extra emphasis is on charity and good neighborliness. From the first day to the last day of Ramadan, join us on TVC from 3 to 6 a.m. every day for Ramadan Kareem, recitation of verses in the Quran, tafsir by great Islamic scholars. Ask the Sheikh for clarity on Ramadan and Islam. What's more, you can learn and win great prizes on the Ramadan quiz segment, all spiced up with soul-stirring nasheed.
Asking for a sign from you, 'cause I'm so broke inside.
Ramadan Kareem on TVC from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day in Ramadan. To participate, call or visit our marketing department, TVC Communications Limited, 1 Continental Way, off CMD Road, Ikosi K2, Lagos. Telephone 0708 066 8003 or 0708 066 8004. You can also log on to www.tvccommunications.tv. Ramadan Kareem.
Well, we're still discussing the issue where about children were rescued by the military in Kuriga. BKO, let's quickly have your perspective on this matter before we move on to our next issue of discussion. What's the way forward out of this so that we do not have a recurrence in future?
They say eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Our people need to be vigilant. People saw those children when they were being moved. They can't deny. Safe local government, I went there, I did stories, I have videos. I know the grazing routes. I stood in one of the grazing routes and I did a piece to camp. These are the areas, these are the routes that the bandits use. Come on. Ha. In Fufu, they call it brutally. That is what they call those routes, those grazing routes. So from the west of Safe local government in Zamfara, they moved them through those two wards, Kizara and Keta. Move them into Zamfara because those are the border. Yes. Those communities are, those two wards are
the border communities.
The border community. They move them all the way through brutally, which is in English known as grazing routes.
Right.
Through those grazing routes, they can link communities. All of those states, up to Niger, the northwest states, and Niger, they used to be part of one state called the northwestern state of Nigeria back then, with one governor. You can imagine all the way to Kebbi, along the border with Niger Republic. Very massive state at that time. So all of those communities link one another. All of those states,
are joined together.
Niger, Kaduna, they link one another. So from the Breningwari forest, you can get to Katsina, you can get to Zamfara. But people know the grazing routes. They know it's those grazing routes that they will use their bike on to move people. You can't say you didn't see them when they were being moved.
There were no trails.
Did the communities raise an alarm? We have to be good Nigerians. Did they raise an alarm? Or they simply fear that if they raise an alarm, these boys will come back and slaughter them. Of course, that happens.
Right.
You know? But we have to stay focused. We have to stay loyal to our country. We have to stay patriotic.
Yeah.
So people know that you can't move more than 100 children. You must pass through communities. Even inside Sambisa, there are communities.
Yeah.
Sambisa runs through 7 Nigerian states. There are communities inside Sambisa. There are communities inside the Breningwari forest. There are communities inside Rugu forest in Katsina, which runs all the way to Central African Republic. What are we talking about? And we will say we didn't see them when they were moving them. I mean, tell me another story now.
GKB, where do you leave this now? From patriotism, how can we key into this so that we do not allow this to repeat itself?
Nobody is coming to save us but ourselves.
Right.
That's the reality of our reality. You can write all the grammar we want, you can say all things we want to say. Ultimately, we have to stand up and defend our space. Throughout history, those who topple kingdoms and empires are people who stood up and said enough is enough.
Right.
And so the people in that part of the country must wake up and then decide to take their space back. Because it's not only dangerous for the country, the food crisis is already here. And if we are not careful, all of us will be affected down the line. And that to me is the real danger.
Right. Let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where it's appalling to say that Delta State, South Nigeria, is fast becoming a killing field for security agents. Now, the bereaved families and friends of some of the police officers who were ambushed and killed while investigating the disappearance of 3 colleagues in the state have demanded justice for their loved ones. Amidst the heartbreak shared by the families on various social media platforms, some relatives and protesters criticized the Nigerian police for delaying the disclosure of the incident to the public and the affected families. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has mandated the deployment of resources and personnel to arrest those responsible for the senseless killing of the officers. BK, when I first saw this story, I was particularly concerned about it not being told about several weeks. That's what the families are alleging, that it took about several weeks before they get to hear about such incident. But what do you make of this development, knowing that police officers were killed and families didn't get to know until weeks later?
Well, maybe you are trying to confirm. Even in the army, they don't announce immediately. They take their time. That's why they always discourage us on reporting, putting pictures of the dead servicemen when they had not officially contacted their families. You know, it's painful, but we should be more concerned about ensuring that we deal with the non-state actors who think that they can just kill our security men
and get away with it.
That is more important than the argument over whether they should have
informed the
family on time and all that. It's painful to lose that number of policemen, and the effrontery with which these non-state actors operate is a matter of serious concern. Look at what happened in
Okoma community.
Yes. You wasted soldiers on the suspicion that, they came to stop, to support a particular group of bunkers against another. You know, we got to get to the root of this, and I trust the police. As the police have said they will find these killers, I'm confident that they will find them and bring them to justice. You saw what happened in Rivers. The guy who killed a DPO and even mutilated his body and was circulating videos. They got him now. In the end, they got him.
Ultimately.
He has gone to meet his maker now. You know? They were looking for him. We all thought that they would not get him, but they got him. And the boys around him, they first got the boys around him. So I trust the police that they will find the killers of these guys. You can't be murdering our security people in this manner. It makes no sense.
GKB, what do you think is responsible for this continued attacks on police officers and their formations? Is it a case of the security personnel themselves not being, let's say, guarded or well protected? What do you think is responsible?
Two things, really. One is the fact that it is obvious that a lot of non-state actors have access to some of the best weapons money can buy. That serves the threats. Number two is the fact that the security personnel themselves have become immersed in what they call either local politics or local economic activities, that they now become guns for hire. But being that as it may, throughout the world, you do not kill policemen. Because there are some people they call minor criminals, and they have informants. Police normally will leave them alone to steal watches, do all that, basically to make sure they have people inside. But once you kill a policeman, they will get you. Doesn't matter how long. The police are like the elephants. They never forget. They will take their time. They will get your girlfriends. They will get the hotels you use. They will get your subordinates. Ultimately, they will get you. For that, I'm certain. I know a case when I was in Rivers And there's an anti-robbery squad led by the now Commissioner of Police Rivers, Tunji Disu. The man did some nasty things, and he thought he had escaped. But the anti-robbery squad chased him all the way back to Owo from Port Harcourt, where he was abandoned. And they got him almost 48 months later. The same Tunji Disu that now went back there now as CP. So what the police has made up their mind
to find,
they will get you. So I'm not really bothered. I want the family, I feel for them. Their boys have not died in vain. The police are very, and the army, they are very protective of their personnel. Because that's the only thing they have. They have only one life. And they willingly are ready to give it. That's why they join the police. That's why they join the armed forces. They know this may happen. But if it happens in the course of duty, why not? But these are people, not state actors, killing our soldiers, killing our policemen, not for anything, just for the fun of it. And that, of course, must stop. So I agree with the IGP. This must not go undetected. Right. They will get them. Don't be surprised. It may even be sooner than later.
BK, any final thoughts you'd like to bring on this before we move on to the next issue?
Yeah, then the issue of insurance and payment of compensation, payment of the entitlements to the families. This usually takes so much time, and what it does is it worsens the situation for the family of the departed policemen. So government needs to work harder on that, improve the welfare of the police. I don't think there's any day that they don't kill maybe up to 5 or 6 policemen in different parts of our country. We need to sort out the welfare of the police and ensure that when we lose them, their families are taken care of, so that the pain of losing their loved one will not be overpowering on the family. We need to do something about that, right. Especially in the area of insurance, so that even the person struggling to keep us alive, to keep us safe, knows that when he dies, he will not have died in vain.
All right, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where this is not the best of time for the Labour Party as it strives to build on the momentum it gathered during the 2023 elections. In the face of its conflict with the Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, the Labour Party has changed the venue for its proposed national convention to Nnewi, Anambra State, over fear of disruption. In a letter signed by the National Chairman, Julius Abure, the National Secretary, Umar Ibrahim, the party informed the Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, of the new venue. Well, this is the second time the party has changed the venue of the convention slated for the 27th of March. Let's bring you the report.
The conflict between the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Labour Party reached boiling point last week. The situation escalated when members of NLC stormed the party secretariat in Abuja. The NLC members accused the Labour Party National Chairman, Julius Abure, of running the party like a mafia organization. As a result, the NLC passed a vote of no confidence on the leadership of the party and called Abure's resignation.
Nigerian workers formed this party with the vision to build a party that will work to develop our society.
The war of attrition between Abure and the NLC president, Joe Ajero, is seen by some political watchers as a threat to the future of the Labour Party.
There are great lessons to be learned.
Trouble started for Abure after the 2023 general election, when some party members under the leadership of Lamidi Apapa and Abayomi Arabambi accused him of mismanaging the party's funds.
We are concerned that the fund intended for...
A series of court cases followed, but the leadership of Aburi was upheld by the Court of Appeal.
All the claims of those factions or those individuals who were challenging the chairmanship position being occupied by Julius Aburi, they possessed or they did not possess the virus to even institute the
BKO, they will say there is trouble in Jerusalem with what is happening in the Labour Party. The too many
in Gaza. No, this
too
is
many cracks.
This is the second time that they will change their venue. Venue for the convention slated for March 27. They had earlier scheduled it for March 29 in Benin. They changed the venue from Benin to Umuahia. And then Onewi. The fear of disruption, especially by the obedience, if the convention was held in Abuja, was the reason for the shift, you know. But they are now saying that, obedience wanted to happen in Anambra to honor Peter Obi. But Labour Party has to really watch it, rate at which they are going, because I trust the Nigerian big parties. Once they are tearing themselves apart, they will move in
to other
and
parties.
they will poach some of the big wigs there, and the future of the party will be in jeopardy. They want, the two groups are struggling for control. Ajero wants to take control of the party, you know. He believes that Abure and others are opportunists who just came to take over a party that Labour started. But it's the name of the game. Once you set up a party and you hand over the constitution to INEC, anybody can join. You don't have to be members of NLC. Anybody can join. And if you must remove him, you must follow the constitution. I may not like Abure as a person. I'm not impressed by him. But the law is the law. You can't go around picketing Labour Party offices as a means of chasing him out of office. That's not what the law says.
Right.
You must follow the law. You know, so we are watching to see how things pan out, especially their convention. Many people will be interested seeing how they sort themselves out. Maybe it will be disrupted because the convention will certainly, depending on what transpired,
or maybe
the convention may validate one of the groups and give it more years.
Something must give.
So we are watching.
Indeed, we're watching. GKB, what are your thoughts and how do you think this could end or how this matter could be resolved?
Well, it's not the first time Labour will be going through this crisis. Don't forget, there was this fellow that held Labour Party by the jugular for so many years until he was chased out and he started his own party by putting Z in front of Labour Party.
Zenith Labour Party.
So it's not really new. And I expect that something like this will also happen now. Because somebody must lose. Both of them have gone beyond broke. And so whoever loses may just put Y in front of his own Labour Party. And then we move on. Our Labour Party as envisaged by the founding fathers will probably outlive Ajero and outlive Tiburi.
So you're optimistic?
I'm optimistic about the party.
Right.
Not the usage of the party right now. But like you know, a lot of people are coming in for obvious reasons. But once the vehicle no longer moves the way they expected, they will look for another vehicle and leave this particular car.
Someone told me that there is also battle for supremacy between Peter Obi and the governor of Abia State.
To control the party.
In terms of who is really the leader.
Popular.
That has to be the elected leader. Whoever is the governor
is occupying the highest position.
Elected position. That's the leader of the party. Cycle, no. It's a given. Because he's the one with the resources. Because he can give shish.
That person says he doesn't give shish. That one we have to confirm that one to whether it is actually.
So as leader of the party, he must give shish.
You must give shish. But BKO, if you were to give your own 2 cents, like you normally say, how do you think the Labour Party can resolve this issue internally before it goes out of hand?
I think they've gone too far. And the goals of both contending camps are clear. Ajero's goal is clear. They are not interested in making peace with Abure. They believe Abure is tainted, he has court cases here and there, forgery. They are now saying, look, he is corrupt, he should go. And Abure, having said all of that, Ajero wants to use the party for his 2027 ambition, he wants to be governor of Imo State, all of those things, when you say those things in public, it makes a resolution of crisis difficult.
Right.
That's why even when there is crisis, you have to choose your words. There are certain things that you don't say. When you don't say certain things, you are leaving room for a resolution. But if you go for broke, you start saying all kinds of things, it makes a resolution more difficult because every time you remember that, they did not call me a thief, they did not say I stole 3.5 billion. So all of those things, I see a big battle ahead.
Right.
Yeah, for the soul, for the control
of
Labour Party, yes.
All right, let's leave it at that. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for bringing your insights to bear on the program. Babajide Kolade Otitoju, it's a pleasure. And Gani Kayode Balogun, thank you so much for your time on the show. And that's it, gentlemen, folks, rather, on Journalist Hangout. Join us again tomorrow for the regular episodes of the program. You can watch a repeat broadcast tonight at 11. Join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Raining season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol Show.
The biggest comedy show in Africa is back with a cultural phenomenon for our time. It's AY Live African All-Stars Edition on Easter Sunday, March 31st, featuring the comic geniuses from different parts of Africa. Salvador from Ghana, DKB from Ghana, Zimbabwean-born American Alfred Kainga, Akporo, Acapella, Funny Bone, Koboko, MC Manika, Waymouth, and lots more. Hosted by the legendary AY. Musical performances by Casey, Pataranking, and other rave-making musical artists. Venue, Echo Convention Center, Victoria Island, Lagos. Show starts by 7 p.m. Ticket, regular 5,000 Naira, VIP 30,000 Naira, premium table 5 million Naira, and gold table 3 million Naira. Ticket outlet, all Abano supermarkets, all Tasty Fried Chicken outlets, or visit www.ariatickets.com. Please call 0704-921-5448. Powered by Revolution Plus Properties, Coleman Wires, packaged by Landray Maku Events, and proudly supported by.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be a patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Now we are not the hurry go like say something they pursue.
Oga landlord, na favor wey dey sick so.
He dey hospital with Mama Favor.
Favor get diphtheria. She dey.
Shebi you dey carry her go take immunization.
Oga landlord,
I never give her vaccination before.
But since we born Favor, we never carry am go collect immunization before.
Mama Favor na your friend. You know they tell her.
I tell him. Even sef me and my husband follow you talk that time. You dey here when Joy, my sister, born. Every time he dey carry him pikin for immunization as he suppose. Even Joy follow collecting COVID vaccine that time.
Na the head of our pikins dem we dey talk for years. If dem no collect their immunization, as e suppose be, na their health we dey put for danger. So you no go follow no road.
If your pikin miss to collect any immunization, let dem go any health center to complete am. Make papa and mama dem use that chance collect dem COVID vaccine. Call 7722 for more information.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Today, there are many complex, boring, expensive, and useless exercise machines in the market. Or you pay over 400,000 naira a year for gym membership and never go. ShopX TV is proud to introduce Total Crunch Evolution, the compact, versatile fitness solution that is perfect for you. With Total Crunch, you get a complete fitness workout in one machine. Say goodbye to ineffective and complicated exercise machines. Now, you have the power to transform your fitness journey and get the body you have always wanted right in the